Hello all! I'm finally back and continuing this video series. There's still a lot of ground left to cover, so expect more episodes. If you're new to this series, then welcome. What I do for this series is go over all the references Winx Club makes to mythology, and there's actually quite a bit to talk about. This episode is going to be focused on Andros. Almost every single one of Aisha's family members is a reference to Greek mythology, specifically gods related to the sea. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. First off, we have Niobe, Aisha's mother. In Greek mythology, Niobe was known as Queen of Thebes. However, she's best remembered by a rather tragic story involving her children. Niobe had given birth to many sons and daughters. Because of this, she thought of herself as better than Leto, the Titan goddess of modesty, who only had 2 children, Apollo and Artemis. After hearing of Niobe's mockery, Leto ordered Apollo and Artemis to kill Niobe's children. Soon after the death of her sons and daughters, Niobe was transformed to stone. I'm honestly not sure why Niobe from Winx Club was named after this particular figure. The only similarities they seem to share is the title of queen. Aisha is an only child, and Niobe isn't particularly linked to tragedy in the show, unless you include what happened in Andros in Season 3. Or Season 5 with Triton. Andros is kind of a mess. All the bad things happen there, apparently. Moving on, what's even more strange is the fact that Niobe is one of the only members of Aisha's family whose name isn't linked with the sea. Next up is Neptune. Neptune was known as the Roman god of the sea. However, his Greek equivalent, Poseidon, is more relevant to this video. Poseidon wielded a trident and lived in a gold castle adorned with corals and sea flowers. This castle was located on the ocean floor. Poseidon was known for being quite moody in temperament, pretty similar to Neptune in the series. Poseidon married a Nereid, which is a sea nymph, or a spirit of the sea, named Amphitrite. Together they had a son, named Triton, who was half fish and half man. Triton shares many similarities with Tritonus. Like his father, Triton carried a trident. However, he had an ability separate from his father. He was able to calm or anger the ocean waves by playing a conch shell. He is also the creator of the race known as the Tritons. Tritons were covered in scales and had gills behind their ears. They had abnormally wide mouths and extremely sharp teeth and fingernails. The Triton race had tails that were dolphin-like as well. Based on this description, it would seem that Tritonus' beast form, as well as the mermonsters he creates, were greatly inspired by the Tritons. The mermaids cursed by Valtar are quite similar as well. Weirdly enough, Triton is also used to describe male mermaids within the Winx universe, but obviously they're almost nothing like their mythological counterparts unless you're talking about Triton who created the race of Tritons. Back to Tritonus, his name seems to be similar to the word Titan. The Titans were immortal giants with incredible strength and knowledge. They ruled the world before Olympians, according to Greek mythology. I guess this might explain Tritonus' weird obsession with power. Next up within Aisha's family is Nereus. In Greek mythology, Nereus was described as a kindly old man who could predict the future and shapeshift. He had a fishtail and also possessed a trident. Nereus married Doris, with whom he had 50 children. These children were the Nereids. One of these children was Amphitrite, who later married Poseidon and gave birth to Triton. I find this quite interesting considering in Winx Club, Nereus was Neptune's son and Tritonus' brother, whereas in mythology, Nereus would be Triton's grandfather. Now on to Tressa. Tressa does not seem to be named after any particular figure in Greek mythology, but her name does have Greek origin. Tressa is a name derived from Teresa, which is believed to come from the Greek island of Tarasia. Ligeia in mythology, pronounced Ligeia in Winx Club, was not Neptune's wife, unlike the Andros royal family. In mythology, Ligeia was one of the 3 sirens. Sirens were known for their enchanting voices that could draw anyone near. Apparently, their appearance is rather debatable. Sometimes they're depicted as part human and part bird. Kind of like a mermaid, but a cross with a bird rather than a fish. I assume this was due to their beautiful voices being similar to birdsong. but sometimes they were just depicted as beautiful women. Out of all the mythology that Winx Club uses for Andros, Selkies stand out the most. Selkies are not from Greek or Roman mythology, but Celtic folklore instead. The word Selkie means seal, and is used to describe shape-shifting seals who appear in the sea. Selkies are kind of like mermaids, except they're not a cross, but shape-shifting beings instead, which means that while in the water, they look like ordinary seals. But on land, they shed their skin, which looks kind of similar to a fur coat, and then they become extraordinarily beautiful humans. Selkies were often depicted in tragic love stories, as they could only stay on land for short periods of time. Unless their seal skin was stolen by someone, then they would be trapped on land until they could get it back. Obviously, Selkies and Winx Club have a much different role and don't appear to be heavily inspired by their mythological origin. Selkies and magics are basically just underwater pixies, and they act as gatekeepers to portals, so not too much similarity in this case. Now for the obvious, mermaids. Mermaid-like creatures have been depicted throughout time all over the world for thousands of years. As far as Greek mythology is concerned, sirens and mermaids were sometimes used interchangeably. The mermaids we see in media today are a much more recent take on how they look. But considering how mermaids look in Winx Club, I thought that would be the closest equivalent. Mermaids are depicted as having the tail of a fish and the body of a human, and are known for having beautiful singing voices. Seeing a mermaid, according to sailors, could have either fortunate or disastrous consequences. Tales of mermaids summoning sea storms, capsizing ships, and luring people out to sea to drown are far from uncommon. But the way mermaids are shown varies greatly depending on the time or place. There's not too much to say about the mermaids in Winx Club, at least in the main show. They're mostly just kind of there. They look like traditional mermaids that we see today, but they have wings. World of Winx, on the other hand, follows mythology quite closely. The mermaids in World of Winx look more similar to traditional mermaids, and they are able to assume human forms. Their moral nature is a bit gray since they tend to be mean-spirited, but the mermaids come around in the end. The World of Winx mermaids are shown to have powers similar to legend. They enchant people, then lure and drag them down to the depths of the sea. And the mermaids even use water as portals, proving their deep connection to the sea and the tides. World of Winx in general is a really great mashup of mythology, and of course is based heavily on Peter Pan. I'd love to get into that more at one point. It's one of the reasons I actually rather enjoyed it. Last topic to cover would be the Dark Sirens from the Winx comics. Even though they are named sirens, they're really just a group of evil mermaids, if you think about it. The Dark Sirens appear whenever the Mermaid Tail constellation shines in the sky to kidnap the Queen of Andros. They wish to transform the queen into one of them. The Dark Sirens were originally queens of Andros thousands of years ago, and then transformed into creatures of darkness. Like the World of Winx mermaids, they use water as portals to travel. Appearance-wise, they don't look much different from the mermaids in Winx Club the show, but they are able to use ocean-based magic similar to fairies. And that'll be all for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you learned something new. I know it's been a long time since I last uploaded, but I've learned quite a bit since then, so hopefully you'll notice an increase in quality. I do plan on releasing more Winx videos in the future, but I'd also like to expand what I cover, so expect new things as well. Some things I'd like to talk about would be shows like Lolly Rock, or lesser talked about anime like Yona the Dawn or Princess Tutu, for example. Basically anything I'm interested in that I don't think is talked about enough. So I hope you'll look forward to it. Subscribe if you haven't already so you won't miss the ride to come. And don't forget to keep the magic in your lives. Bye!